Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I will show you how to work the treble crochet stitch. This is a basic crochet stitch that you can learn, and I have here some swatches to compare it to some other basic stitches. This is treble crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, and single crochet. So I wanted to line these up for you just to show you the size and height difference. And as you can see, the treble crochet is very tall. It's a very tall stitch. And it also produces a very open and kind of holey fabric as compared to down here at the other end, single crochet, which produces a very dense, tighter fabric. So to begin, I have here a 5.5 millimeter eye crochet hook. You can use any hook you like, really. And I just have some worsted weight acrylic yarn. And if you're unsure about what hook to use with your yarn, just check the yarn label for the hook recommendation. So in this tutorial, we're going to be doing a little swatch just like this. And I'm going to show you how to begin a row of treble crochet stitches. These are also called triple crochet, some people like to call them. We'll also learn how to do the actual treble crochet stitch, and then we'll learn how to transition from row to row. So we'll put this here, and to begin our swatch, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook, and I'm just going to make a few chains. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and pull it through the loop. So we'll just make a few chains to get our swatch started. I'm not even counting, just making a few chains. And I wanted to mention that when you work treble crochet, you want to follow your pattern. With counting the chains and the turning chain when transitioning from row to row. But for our swatch, we're just going to be following general stitch guidelines. But of course, you'll want to follow your pattern if you are working from a pattern. If you're just learning the stitch and want to just practice it, just follow these general guidelines to make our swatch. So let's go back to our starting chain. Here's our starting chain. And we're going to work the first treble crochet in the 5th chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count, so let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. To work the treble crochet, you're going to wrap the yarn around the hook 2 times, like that. Insert your hook into the chain and bring up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. Wrap your yarn around the hook. Bring it through the first 2 loops. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook. Bring it through the next 2 loops. You'll have 2 loops remaining on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the last 2 loops. You'll have 1 loop on your hook. That is the treble crochet stitch. Let's do a few more slowly and then we'll pick up our speed. Wrap yarn around hook twice. Insert your hook into the chain, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Let's do it again. Yarn around hook twice, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So I'll do a few more. Bring it through the first 2 loops, next 2 loops, last 2 loops. Yarn around hook twice, bring up a loop, first 2 loops, next 2 loops, last 2 loops. Yarn around hook twice, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, first 2 loops, yarn around hook, next 2 loops, yarn around hook, last 2 loops. So you can see we're building our row here. 4 loops on the hook, 3 loops on the hook, 2 loops on the hook, 1 loop on the hook, just like that. So let's make a few more to finish off our row. We have 2 chains left here. I'm just going to get a little bit more yarn, and we'll work 1 more into the last chain. Just like that. So here's our first row of treble crochet stitches. They're very open and pretty. They add a lot of height to your projects. And next we're going to go on to the next row of our swatch. To transition from row to row, again you'll want to follow your pattern. But just to make a swatch as a general guideline, you're going to chain 4. That's a standard turning chain height for treble crochet. So 1, 2, 3. So my yarn split a little bit there. Sometimes that happens. And 4. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work. And this turning chain generally counts, again you'll want to check your pattern, but generally this turning chain counts as the first treble crochet on your row. So we're going to skip the first stitch, this is a stitch here, and then work the next treble crochet into the second stitch. So again we're going to do the same thing, yarn around hook twice, insert it into the stitch, bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. We'll get some more yarn there. Treble crochet uses lots of yarn, and then you'll just keep going all the way across, just like that, into each stitch. Now some patterns will tell you to work it into the space, and I just wanted to point that out. This little hole here at the top is the stitch, and in between here is the space. So I'll show you really quick how to work it into the space. Just insert your hook into the hole, the big hole there, and bring up a loop. Just like that. So you can see the difference. This one was worked into the stitch, and this one was worked into the space. So that's our treble crochet tutorial. And you'll end up with your little swatch if you keep going. And you'll just keep repeating that row again and again until you get it as large as you like. And when you're making a starting chain, just be sure to make your chain and then add 4 to that, because the first 4, when we worked into the 5th chain from the hook, counts as a treble crochet also. And when I was learning, I made lots and lots of these just to practice. That'll help you learn your tension and help you get your stitches nice and neat and give you lots of practice. So that's our treble crochet tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again!